AI is in our schools. Students are using ChatGPT for assignments. So, what happens to the role of a teacher? In this episode, I sit down with an experienced CBSE English teacher to talk about the real impact of AI on education, from how it's being integrated in classrooms to what it can never replace. We discuss the future of teaching, emotional intelligence, and the things students truly remember beyond books. If you are a student, teacher, or creator navigating this AI driven world, you need to hear this one. And I recommend you to put this episode on the speed of 1.5x and enjoy the show.
Now we are in a time where AI is being a part of our lives, in the lives of students and the lives of teacher. So, what do you think, is AI going to replace teaching or it is going to help teaching? And what is the impact of AI on the teaching as a whole?
Um, Daksh, as you may be quite well aware, AI is being actually encouraged now in schools all over India. When I say in schools all over India, I'm a CBSE teacher. So in CBSE schools now we've incorporated AI as part of our curriculum. So that in itself goes to show you that um, it is very much going to be a part of a student's career. And obviously, because it is going to be a part of a student's career, it has to be commenced right away from school.
Hmm.
So that is as far as the fact of the matter goes. Now, when it comes to students, AI can definitely, strengthen a student's performance. But in some areas, there's a flip side to everything. There is a positive and a negative to everything. I'll just tell you one experience that I had about a year back. And I had given, what do you call, an article to be written by the students. And I said, I'm giving you 20 minutes to write the article.
Hmm.
And fine, 20 minutes. Now, um, one of the kids gave me an absolutely mind-boggling article.
Hmm.
I mean, the level of English that was used, the vocabulary, the sentence structure, the syntax was to die for. And I was speechless. But then there was a niggling little doubt at the back of my mind. Ki, yaar, I know each and every student. Okay, so somewhere there was a doubt. I mean, this is uh, not the work of the child. But anyway, I called the child up and I said, "You've done such an amazing job. I gave you 20 minutes in the library to do your research and come up with this article. And you've given me such an amazing article. So, why is it that you're not able to produce these articles um, spontaneously when your grasp of the language is so good?" And then she just smiled, and I have to commend the person for the honesty. And she said, "Ma'am, I use ChatGPT." Honestly, I didn't know whether to laugh or whether to get angry. But the reason I never got angry is, number one, is because I was ignorant of the fact there was such a thing as ChatGPT.
Oh,
I didn't know it.
you didn't know
I
a year
didn't know
back?
it. I didn't know it a year back. I am someone who depends a lot on my language to do anything. I don't even go on to Google unless I want information. But when it comes to presentations and speaking and stuff like that, I'm quite confident in the use of my own language. I don't feel the need to dress up anything. And I said, "Okay, chat, what is that?" And then very happily she said, "Ma'am, but don't get angry with me. I'll show you what it is." And then she picked it out and she showed me what it is and all that. And then, instead of getting angry with the child, I told her, there's no point in you using ChatGPT. Tell me, how do you benefit? Now I've given you 20 minutes in the library, so you've come up with this. But tomorrow, when you sit for your boards, you get a topic. Can you use ChatGPT? You go for
Definitely.
an interview, and you're asked questions spontaneously. You're going to pull out chat gpt? You can't. So why unnecessarily make yourself dependent on technology and on AI? Use it when necessary. Use it when you're not being tested for it, but don't use it where it will become a negative rather than a positive. All right. So it's very beneficial for students, but like I said, it can make a student very dependable on it. And it in no way will enhance the language or the knowledge of a child anyway. So as long as you're using it just to, kind of give you an idea, okay, I have to make a presentation. Let's use Chat GPT. Let's have an idea about how I can present it. Have a look at it, turn it off, and then you get down to writing your own presentation on your own, which is more you. So it is here to stay. Okay, AI is here to stay. There's no doubt about it. It all depends on, number one, are teachers willing to educate themselves and keep abreast of AI so that you can use it to make you a better teacher, because you've got to move with the times. Children out there know the ins and the outs. They are wizards. They can teach me a lesson or two. So every teacher has to upgrade herself, update herself so that she can keep on par with her students. But there is no doubt that AI can definitely make you a better teacher. It can help you in your projects. It can help you in customizing. If I have a certain child who's not able to give the project in this way, how can I help that particular child? How can I make a customized lesson plan for that particular child? Well, that definitely makes me a better teacher. So AI is here to stay. Now, coming to your question of whether AI can replace teachers, in my opinion, and this is my humble opinion, okay, I don't think that will ever happen.
Hmm.
क्योंकि AI is technology. It is a program, okay? And when you're a teacher, you're a human being relating to a child, another human being. There is this emotional factor. There is this human bonding. There is this the mentorship. Teachers have to adapt to every single child in the class. You walk in one day with this great plan of how you're going to conduct your class, and you walk into class and you realize for some reason no one's in the mood for listening. You have to instantaneously adapt and say, you know what? Let's crack the books today. Chalo, let's go out. Weather's good. Let's go out and let's have a little bit of role play today. All
Hmm.
right. Can AI do that?
Definitely not.
Cannot, because AI cannot sense the mood of the class. A child, I had a child in the class. One day I was teaching. It was the first time that I was teaching this child. One day I was teaching, and I was all engrossed in my explanations, and suddenly he shoots up and stands ramrod straight. And I go like, okay, what happened? Do you have a doubt? Is there something you didn't understand? No, man. I said, okay, what? Can I just go for a walk and come back? And I said, you want to go for a walk and come back in the middle of my explanation? And he said, yes, ma'am. And he was a boy of very few words. Instantaneously, I looked at him and I said, okay, shall I go for a quick walk and up the corridor, down the corridor. Is that enough for you? Yes, ma'am. So I stopped the class and all the students look at me and say, gosh, did she really give you that permission? And then he got up, he took a walk up the corridor, came back down. Ma'am, may I come in? Yes, come in. Came in, sat down. I said, you okay now? Yes, ma'am. And then I continued with my explanation. It just took literally 30 seconds of my time that I waited. And I never said a word to the rest of the class about this child. I never made a song and a dance about it. I realized that he just needed that 30-second break. I gave it to him, and I realized that he used to do it to bring himself back to the class. He found his attention wavering. He needed to get out of the class, take a quick walk up and down, and then come back. And for the for the remaining of the class, he was completely all there. And this happened for the entire year that that child was in my class. It happened at least a minimum of about 20 to 25 times that year. So I was the class teacher and I had to tell the other teachers, look, this might happen, okay? In case that happens, please give the child the freedom and say, yes, please go, take a walk and come back. He would faithfully come back in 30 seconds and sit. Now, would AI be able to adjust to something like that?
No, never.
Because AI is a program. AI is a program. A child gets up in the middle of the class and I see that the child has tears in the eyes. And immediately I look at her and I say, I've got 10 minutes more for my class. I'm free in the next period. Come to me and meet me, okay, after this period ends, all right? And then I continue with the class, and the child is absolutely fine. She listens because she knows 10 minutes after that, whatever's been bugging her is going to be resolved. If not resolved, at least she will vent her problem out. Can AI do that? So I think that the teacher will always be an entity that will be needed. It's just that roles may change, duties may change, responsibilities may change, and it all depends upon how a teacher adapts herself and upgrades herself and makes AI a tool that will make her a better teacher. That's all.
Hmm. Okay, so how have you adapted yourself then in this stage?
So my first brush with AI was with ChatGPT, and then I've realized that there are lots. I'm not very technologically savvy. Okay, so I will use Google and whatever what have you on the laptop to sort of brush up, with my lesson plans and make them more relevant and stuff like that. But yes, to be honest with you, if I want to upgrade myself with AI and technology, believe it or not, I go back to my students because I realized they are so much more informed than I am. And if um, you put someone who's very very involved or who's very very knowledgeable about AI, he's going to come up with all these technical terms and conditions that probably will sail right over my head.
Hmm.
But if I go to a student and I say, you know what, Nishan, this is my problem with my phone. Now I want to do this. This is what I want to do for this lesson. Can you show me how to do it? He says, ma'am, yeah, and he shows me how to do it. If I have something to bring up on the screen,
Hmm.
and I'm having a problem with it because I'm having a problem to get the information I want in the way I want it. Again, I go back to students who are way more informed than me. And then they come up and they show me on the digiboard. And they say, ma'am, you just go to this site and then you download this information and then you just open it on the screen. And he shows me how to do it. And the next time, I do it on my own, and I'll ask them, you know what, you don't help me. You just tell me whether I'm doing it correctly. Okay. And then I bring up all that information on the digiboard and stuff like that. I make my projects and I help children to make their projects, to design their projects, which is why I told you I've got Canva on my
Hmm.
phone. And the magazine this year was made on Canva, which again, I never knew anything about. It is the 12th standard students who told me, man, why are you struggling? Let's get on to Canva. And then today, I'm very proficient with Canva. I go through all those designs and this and that and stuff like that. And I've made my magazine on Canva, again with the students' help. So I've got to update myself enough where I can use what's at my disposal and make myself a better teacher, which is possible, trust me, which is very, very possible if you take your students' help. Again, my students are my strength. So use your students. If you have no one else, not to worry. Use your students and they'll help you.
Hmm. The analogy best which I can remember here is the moment when calculators were invented. So when calculators were invented, people boldly assumed that the mathematicians are going to be replaced because the calculator would do everything. But again, what it proved out to be was calculator was just a tool to make the calculations better. The mathematicians are still here. There are many complex equations which are being solved even in today's date, and those are all the humans or the mathematicians which are doing it. But they're using the help of the calculator there. So
Exactly.
I believe it's the same thing with the AI as well. AI might not just be proficient only with maths in different domains also, but I don't think it would entirely replace a whole industry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. I mean, you do have robot teachers now, which I was reading about the other day. But then, so I made it a topic of discussion with the class. You know, would you
Mhm.
like to have a robotic teacher? I said, ma'am, no, definitely not. I mean, first of all, that robotic voice itself would bug us. I mean, for one period in the day, no problem, ma'am. Like, you know, on all other 7 periods, we'd like human teachers to come in. I said, but human teachers, you know, scold you and reprimand you. And, ma'am, that's okay, no problem. But we want human teachers. So, you know, children, I think they like that human element.
Hmm. So, ma'am, and teaching as a whole, do you think it is fading away?
That's a $1 million um, question, Daksh. Is teaching fading? Well, the interest in the profession, I think, um, probably is. See, teaching was never a glamorous profession anyway. It never was a glamorous profession anyway. From the very beginning, number one. Number two, and these are the facts about teaching as a profession. Okay? As a teacher, you are held to higher standards than anyone else in any other profession. You know, your behavior has to be exemplary. The language you use has to be respectful, and not just in school, anywhere outside, because you never know when a student or a parent of yours might be in the vicinity listening to you, watching you. You know, so your behavior has to be exemplary at all times. As a teacher, you've got to be incredibly patient. You've got to be willing to put in the hours even after work. Your work does not end at 4 o'clock in the evening. You go home and your work continues, your corrections continue, your assignments continue, your projects continue. Um, it's not a profession where you are expected to be, you know, dressed to the nines, wearing all the, you know, the MNC kind of corporate kind of feeling. It's not that at all. All right, it's not where you go and sit in your cubicle or in your cabin and then, you know, you have a that kind of a fee. It's not at all. So it's not a glamorous profession. You've got to stand up to you've got to have higher standards than most people. If you're going to teach a child honesty, you've got to be honest yourself. You've got to teach a child that you've got to be a man of your word. Well, you've got to be a man of your word yourself. You know, if you're going to tell a child, don't tell lies. Well, first you've got to practice what you preach. So it's not easy being a teacher. Now, keeping all of this in mind, people always tell me, oh, salaries are not good. Let's be very clear about it. There are many professions where salaries are not commensurate with the work that people do. I don't see anyone questioning those professions. Okay, number one. In these days, teachers are well paid. They are well paid. Many international schools pay their teachers very well. Yes, there are exceptions. Smaller schools may not pay that well, but a teacher's salary is no longer pathetic as it used to be 10 years earlier. It's a pretty decent salary for a person to take home. Now, there are compensations. I mean, you get summer vacations. You know, you go home, you're at home 4:30, max 5 in the evening. You have the entire evening to spend with your family. You can actually cook them a nice meal. You can have dinner at the table with your husband and your children, or your wife and your children. These are all perks that mostly we look forward to, you know. Um, I don't think teaching is fading away, Daksh. I think the world is so caught up. When I say the world, I mean India, okay? We are
Hmm.
so caught up in our BTECs and our MBBS and our lawyers and, you know, things like that. We can't see beyond it. The moment I've seen the last 11 years, the moment a child completes his 12th standard, what is he doing BTEC? 99 out of 100 children are doing BTEC, you know, or if it's a girl, MBBS. If it's a boy, engineer. That used to be the case. In the past, maybe couple of years, I'm seeing a shift where I feel parents are beginning to encourage their children to take up other professions. Okay, which is good. I'm not saying engineering is bad. I'm not saying MBBS is bad, but you throw a stone and in all probability it will fall in an engineering student or a doctorate. That is a fact in India. You agree with me?
I'm an engineer myself, going to be an engineer.
Okay, so it's not, again, I'm not saying it's bad.
Right,
The
right.
thing is, as a parent, are we doing anything to expose our children to other professions? We don't want to take that risk. See, engineering is a very safe profession. It's a very safe thing to do. You know, MBBS, very safe thing to do. But we are not willing to take that risk. So tomorrow, if my daughter comes to me and says, I want to do hotel management, how open am I to that? I want to be a journalist. I want to be a news reader. How open am I to that? I want to be an archaeologist, an anthropologist. How open am I to that?
Hmm.
So it's not just teaching. There are other professions which are being, moved to the side. I mean, psychology. That's an amazing field, but not many parents. I mean, hardly any parents want their children to get into that field. All right. Teaching. There was never ever. It was never ever a glamorous profession. But the reason people became teachers is because it was a very respected profession. A very respected profession. I mean, a teacher's word was Bible truth. So children would go home and say, नहीं मैं ऐसे ही करूंगा क्योंकि मेरा टीचर ने ऐसा कहा.
Hmm.
मम्मी ने क्या कहा ये अलग बात है. Okay, what mommy says is different. My teacher said it, so it has to be done this way only. In days gone by, and it's not the same today. Values are changing, parenting styles are changing, generations are changing, and teaching is becoming honestly much more challenging. Much, much, much more challenging. In days gone by, if I punished a child, if I scolded a child, no one ever came and questioned me about it. Today, if I scold a child, a parent walks in and says, why was my child scolded? Why was my child punished? So, as a teacher, if you're going to restrict me in so many ways where I can't even impact a child, I can't discipline a child, I can't shape a child, what is what is the point? What role am I playing? So all of these things are there. Teaching is becoming more and more challenging as the years go by. So definitely, um, टीचर्स विल वंडर कि यार अगर हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते, कुछ इम्पैक्ट नहीं कर सकते, तो फिर टीचर बने ही क्यों? So all that is there. Nevertheless, if you're someone who has the skill, if you're someone who has the passion, never, I don't think that all these things should come in the way of your choosing teaching as a profession. It is not a profession, first of all, Daksh. Teaching is not a profession. Honestly, it is a vocation. It is a vocation. And if you have that vocation, if you have that calling, then you can make wonders happen. You can bring miracles to the table. It all depends on your confidence in yourself as a teacher. Teaching, I don't think, will ever fade. It will never fade. There will always be teachers. But my only question is, um, will you have the quality? Will teachers have that quality? 5 years, I'm not talking 10 years from now, I'm talking 5 years from now. Will you
Hmm.
have a quality in the teachers that come up 5 years hence? That is the biggest, $1 million question. And honestly, it doesn't look very bright.
Why do you think so? Situation is like that.
Like I said, nothing ever stays the same. Change is the only constant in life, right? You've heard that proverb. Change is the only
Only
constant
cons.
in life. Yeah, so times change, people change, situations change, circumstances change, parenting styles change, children change. So teachers also change. The system changes, education changes, books change, curriculums change, methodologies change. Change is part of the entire system that is going to happen. So if there's an up, there has to be a down. So probably that's with CBSE going in for such a huge revamp, maybe they're trying to bring some focus into teaching as a profession. Um, so hopefully, I'm hoping that these changes will probably, be inviting or be attractive. I'm hoping that situations will change and the government will come up with certain rules and regulations with regard to remunerations for teachers, considering the challenges that a teacher faces. So if all these things fall into place, yeah, definitely, teaching will not lose its attractiveness.
Hmm.
um, Next 4 or 5 years, yeah, you still have a generation of teachers who are still dedicated and still love what they do. um, Hopefully in 5 years we shall see some more changes happening, and teaching will continue to be as attractive as it was in my days. But I still have a lot of respect for the profession. I still love what I do, and I believe there is no other profession in the world that is as beautiful as teaching.
Right. That's the love you have for teaching, I believe. Hmm. So basically, what I feel is teaching is undergoing a silent monumental revolution, I believe, because no, there are very less people speaking about it, and they are, observing that teaching as a whole is changing, or, the teachers have to adapt to something new. Whereas in other professions, we can see the numbers, we can see the layoffs, we can see how it is impacting families there. But teaching, which is a deep rooted thing for the students as well, like in the beginning of our ages, we get inspired from our teachers, and that particular profession is being changed. Many people are not focusing on that. That's what I believe. So,
um,
yeah,
yeah, to an extent, yes, right, you're right.
right. So, do you think is there a need of awareness that the teachers need to change or need to adapt with the technology, or is it happening already?
It is happening already, Daksh. It is happening already.
Okay.
um, you know we From what I have seen in many schools, um, a lot of technology is being incorporated into teaching. Small things like, sending emails out to parents on a regular basis, doing your lesson plans, doing your consolidated mark sheets. I mean, we no longer sit with those huge, charts and draw lines and write headings. We don't do all that anymore. It's
Oh,
the information is all, yeah, the information is entered onto the computer, and these computers are in our staff rooms. So as and when you get a free period, get onto the computer and make your entries. And then not only that, we are printing out our own report cards. It's not done manually anymore. I don't sit with a CD marker and make my report cards anymore.
oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So and I'm saying that this is being done right away from pre-primary. A pre-primary teacher is sitting and doing it right up to grade 12.
Okay.
So, the entire calculations, we enter the marks and the calculations are just done. The program is written, you enter your marks and the calculations are just done. You take out a printout, go through your calculations, check that everything is spot on, and then you enter your remarks also for the child on the computer. My lesson plans are now printed out.
Oh,
Yeah, and my worksheets are done on the computer. I don't sit and make my worksheets and then Xerox them. It's all done on the computer. The printouts are taken directly from the computer and they're given to the children. So my confidential record book that I maintain for every student is done on the computer. It's an ebook, and then
hmm.
at the end of the year, I just take a printout of each ebook and just keep it as evidence. So it's already happening, and believe it or not, it's fun. It's fun. I don't spend hours sitting and writing and writing and writing till my finger bones are, aching. Uh, it's all, and it's nice, to sit on your laptop and go tuck, 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 tuck. You feel very happy to do, to do all that.
Right.
So yeah, it's nice. It's already happening. It's already happening. Um, and teachers are quite happy about it. They're quite happy to be part of this revolution. So That's why I said, I mean, 5 years from now, it can go either ways. If teachers upgrade themselves and update themselves and accept these changes, then yeah, there won't be a dearth of teachers. It all depends on how teachers update themselves and get themselves on par with the changes that are happening. But it is happening, no doubt about it.
Hmm. Uh, what do you think, ma'am, regarding the psychology of teaching? What differentiates a good teacher from an impactful teacher? Like, this can be an advice for the upcoming generation of teachers as well.
What differentiates a good teacher from an impactful teacher? See, a good teacher does her job. She does what's expected of her. She goes into her class. She conducts a good class. She's got good classroom management. She teaches well. She uses the board. She uses the space. She does her corrections. She does her duty. She makes her question papers. That's a good teacher. What I think you have to strive to be is an efficient teacher.
Efficient teacher.
An efficient teacher. Uh, when you walk into a classroom, you have to remember every single day, and this has to happen every day. You have to understand, you have to remember that if you've got 25 children in that class, uh, they have been entrusted to you,
Hmm.
by the powers that be. You've got to remember that they are sitting in that room without mother or father. You are at that moment both to them. You are mother, you are father, you are teacher. You are their friend. You are their guide. You are their mentor. You are their psychologist. You are their nurse. You are their counselor. It's a lot of roles to play. But if you are an efficient teacher, you will find a way to thread all these roles together and play them very, very smoothly. When you're an efficient teacher, you don't just go in and conduct a good class. You go in and understand that you've got a student who's an A1 grade, who's a 100% a 90 percenter, and then you've also got someone who is not academically gifted. When you're a good teacher, you'll do a good lesson. But when you're an efficient teacher, you will give something more to the clever student, the one who's academically gifted. You will give something basic to those who are in the middle, but you will also simplify your lessons. You will find a way to simplify things and make the child who is not at all academically gifted love your subject and do well in your subject. That's what an efficient teacher does. An efficient teacher just doesn't walk in, does her class and walk out. She makes her class fun. She makes every student love her subject. She makes every student want to please her, want to do well in her subject. An efficient teacher is makes herself indispensable to the institution she works for. She makes herself indispensable. She goes the extra mile. She doesn't stop at her job. She goes the extra mile. She puts herself on, says, you know what? How can I help? What can I do to make things better? So that is what differentiates a good teacher from an impactful teacher.
Hmm.
If you're a good teacher, people will remember you. No doubt. She was a good teacher. But if you're an efficient teacher, you will never be forgotten. You will always be remembered for very, very specific reasons. And 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line, you can bet your life that your student will be telling his child, in my days, come, I'll teach you like this. Because in my days, my teacher used to teach me like this and I understood. Chalo, come, you take out your book, I'll teach you.
Hmm.
That's an efficient teacher. She leaves behind a legacy. An efficient teacher leaves behind a legacy that continues long after she has gone. And that is the difference between a good teacher and someone who is efficient, someone who is a mentor. You should be able to approach your teacher with any problem, even if it's personal. You can't say, this is not my job, this is not my duty. I'm here to teach. Don't bring all these personal issues to me. solve it yourself. No efficient teacher can say that. She has to welcome the child, no matter how tired she is. She has to welcome the child and say, okay, what happened? You're crying? Come on, sit down. Sit with me at my table. Go wash your face. You calm down. When you're calming down, then you talk to me. And that takes my personal time.
Hmm.
I have a pile of books on my table, but I have to put that all aside because a child is having a mental problem or a personal issue. You've got to tune yourself into that child. Now that is what makes a teacher indispensable, unforgettable, and impactful. And that, like I said, is one of the big challenges of the teaching profession today. So unless you're willing to do all of that, you know, it's not easy to be a teacher.
Right. So I feel that there are many good teachers out there, but if just they go the extra mile, or just they have the empathy towards students more, or understanding them more, basically like treating them as a own child, or being their mentor personally, getting the feeling to help them out, then they would also become efficient teachers. That's what I think.
Definitely, and that is why CBSE is organizing so many workshops, which many people the world doesn't know. But CBSE organizes all these training workshops for teachers, and they cover everything, Daksh. They cover not just teaching methodologies and classroom management and stress management and AI. And these are not the only things that are covered. There are also things that are covered, like, what makes a teacher from good to better and then best. Good, better, best. That's the topic of the workshop,
Hmm.
and that teaches, that's especially for the young ones. Young teachers, principals choose the young teachers, the young crowd to go in for these workshops because it is helpful for them. It helps them out. They come back and then they have to give a feedback to the school as to how that workshop was and what they've learned from that workshop. So there are 50 hours of training that every teacher has to mandatorily do every year.
Hmm.
50 hours of training. And very often these trainings are not within school hours, they are after school hours. 25 hours of these trainings has to be done offline, which means you attend a workshop from 9 to 5. And quite often these workshops are even held during the summer vacations.
Hmm.
So teachers sacrifice, summer vacations, or they work their summer vacations around these workshops and attend them because it adds on to your personality, it adds on to your capacity as a teacher. So is there scope for a good teacher to become impactful? Definitely.
Hmm.
Definitely, CBSE does help you out there with workshops, but even otherwise, if you have a good mentor in school, a good principal, good colleagues, everyone pitches in, and then you grow as a teacher. So that is definitely possible.
Right. What are the changes that you have observed in your teaching from your year one to your which year is it, ma'am? An estimate, probably.
Uh, Probably I've complete. This is my 30th year.
3 decades. You have the teaching experience of 3 decades, and what what are the differences you have seen in yourself in this time frame? Because 3 decades is a lot of time, and there are many things which you might have learned in this period. But what are the few things which have been which you have which have stuck to, basically?
You mean how has teaching impacted me? How have I changed as a teacher?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I'll tell you. I started with that incident.
Hmm.
Okay, and then I'll take it from there. So this was many years ago, many years ago, and I had just started out in my teaching profession. It was another country, and it was grade 6, and I was very excited. I've always loved traveling and getting to know new cultures and new cuisines, and I'm very experimental like that. So when I went there, I was all flushed with excitement, new country, new people. And then I was told, You know, Petula, in your class of 25, you have 16 nationalities. And I thought, oh wow, 16 nationalities. Imagine what fun it will be, you know. And then they told me, you'll be teaching grade 6, the boys section. So I said, okay, boys are fun. You know, they do a lot of masti and stuff like that. I mean, I grew up with cousins and brothers and all that. So, all right. And I walked into this class, and believe it or not, I'm not exaggerating. I found boys, they had opened the window. It was an AC room, so there were no bars. They had opened the window and they were literally trying to climb out of the window on the third floor to escape
Okay.
class. And then there were two boys hanging from the fan, and there was another two boys sitting on top of the cupboard, and there was another boy just getting ready to turn on the fan because they wanted to see how these two guys would look spinning. And I walked into the class, I opened the door, I looked in a minute, I took in this entire picture, and I said, nope, I'm not handling this. I closed the door and I ran down the corridor to my supervisor and said, you know, you need to come and see that class. I'm not going in there. I refused to teach that class. Now, this was me when I had just started out. I had walked into a room, there was a challenge, and instead of standing and facing that challenge, I chose to run away from it. I depended on someone else coming and handling the situation for me. Of course, it was much later that I got to know that in 2 months, four teachers had left that classroom. Four teachers had left that school because of that particular class. They had just quit.
Hmm.
You know, some had lasted for as little as 2 days.
2 days.
Now, I was 24 years old. I was 24, just completed my B.Ed, and very proud of my profession. And that day, I questioned my profession for the first time. You know, is this what I'm facing? Is this what I'm going to face for the rest of my life? And is this how I'm going to be running away? And I remember going home because I burst into tears when they told me I have to teach that class. I was 24, I was very young. I burst into tears and I said, you know, I'm not handling that class just because I've come in here from another country. You know, you guys are just, you know, throwing something on top of me. I reacted very badly. And they said, okay, you know what? You just go home, take a day off, think about it, but that's your class. And I remember I went home and I gave my father a call and I spoke to my father. And he said, you know, you did the biggest mistake by running away. Your duty was to stand there and get that class to order and exercise your authority as a teacher. Tomorrow you go back. You go back early and you sit in your class before the children come in after assembly. Take permission and be in that class to welcome your children to that class. So don't give them the chance to be up to mischief before you walk in. Be there before they come in and then handle your class. And that's what I did. I stood at the door and I welcomed all of them in. And then I introduced myself. And the first thing I did was I asked each child to speak about himself or her, you know, himself to me and tell me something about themselves. I never taught for about 3 days after that. I just interacted with the children. Now, I'm not saying that things became better after that because there were challenges every second day with that class for nearly about 3 months. 3 months. But very soon they settled down. And towards the end of the year, um, one of the students who was an Australian, he came up to me, and I remember he was a very tiny little fellow, but he was one of the naughtiest, one of the most challenging children. And he came up to me and said, "Hey, Miss Pichola, so you're going to have a new class from next week. We're going on to another class. You won't be a class teacher, right?" And I said, "No, I won't be your class teacher. You know what? I need to tell you something. We thought when you came in on the first day, you won't last. We all took bets, how long you'd last. I mean, the last teacher just lasted for 2 days. But hats off to you, mate. You made it through the whole year with us. Um, you know, we're really happy to have had you as our class teacher. Now, I'm not saying that it was easy. It was not an easy year because they tested me every day on every level. This child was the same child who I tapped on his back one day, and I tapped him to encourage him to say, "Well done. You've done a good job." And I just patted him on his back, and he said, "Don't touch me, I'll sue you." And so it wasn't easy. Um, Coming from a country where children respect teachers so much, and if we scold children, the children bow their heads down, and to have someone turn around you, I mean, you're encouraging them and saying, "Well done," and he tells you, "Don't touch me, I'll sue you." Like, where is this coming from? And that child tells you, we took bets on how long you would last. We thought 2 days max. When you ran away the first day, we said, "Yeah, we bettered our record. The first day she's gone." And you came back the next day and you lasted, for 9 months with us. So hats off to you. Now, from a teacher that ran away on her first day in a challenging situation, I've come a long way. Um, 30 years with children have taught me a lot. And today, I would never run away from a child. No matter how tough it was, no matter how challenging it was, I would always tell myself, he is a child. And if I run away, then what does that make me? So, whatever it is, I've got to be calm, I've got to be composed, I've got to stand my ground, and I've got to be there for this child. Because if I give up on him, he may never trust another human being again.
Hmm.
So, that's how I've changed today. I've become more patient, more calm, more composed. And yes, there are times I get angry and I get, frustrated. And yes, I scold children, but it's only for that moment. You've done something wrong, I've scolded you. So if you do something right, I'll compliment you as well. That's the teacher I've become today.
Hmm. What's the quality of that student you look after? If you want to mentor them, or you try to get the best version out of them in their schooling years, what are the qualities which you look into in a particular student? Because there are various different students who have different sets of qualities in them, right? So how do you analyze that? And then you come to an analysis of that. Okay, this is the part of this person where he's better at it, and I can help him in this XYZ way.
Um, See, every child is different, Daksh. Every child is different. You cannot compare, two children. And you don't look for any qualities. You, as a teacher, you don't have that luxury.
Hmm.
Only if the child has these qualities, then only I can help the child. What if the child doesn't have those qualities? Would you give up? If I have a child um, who doesn't want to study, he has absolutely no interest in studies. His handwriting is bad. There is no parental support. He doesn't complete his notes. He doesn't do his homework. He can't read. His basic skills are horrible, you know. Um, and that child takes life very easy. I'll pass. Don't worry, Ma, I'll pass. What do you do with that kind of a child? You just give up? You can't give
Oh,
up.
that's hmm.
So as a teacher, if you it changes from child to child. It changes from child, and you have to adopt your methodologies. You have to first understand what kind of a child I am dealing with. And in one classroom, you will have 6 to 7 of these personalities, and every personality is different. Everyone's home situations are different. Everyone's mental makeup is different, and you've got to treat every one of them in a different way in one classroom without neglecting the others.
Other people.
So as a teacher, you have to find that balance. You can't look for any qualities, Daksh. You've
Hmm.
just got to take, you're like a potter. That's the only analogy I can draw. You're a potter, you've got a lump of clay. Now, that lump of clay has nothing, it's just a lump. But you can take that lump and make it into a ball, or you can take that lump and make it, fashion it into a beautiful piece of art. You're really, that's all you have. You only have that piece of clay, and every child is a piece of clay. You don't look for qualities. You look for a child being a child. What is it in that child that I can take and work with? So sometimes you've got to be very tough, you know, and sometimes you've got to take the parents' support. You've got to tell the parents, look, I can't do this without you.
Hmm.
All right. So if I have your support, you and I work together to get your child out of 10th standard or out of 12th standard or whatever, at least a pass degree. And sometimes nothing works except love, emotional blackmail. See, sometimes a piece of chocolate,
Hmm.
you get chocolates in school, birthday chocolates, I never eat them. So I'll tell this child, very big discipline problem, always getting into fights. Today, if you don't get into a fight, no, I'll give you one chocolate in the afternoon. Okay? No fights today. All right? And then, the moment you get a sweet, you give him the sweet. And he said, but ma'am, this is only second period, still 6 periods to go. And you say, I know 6 periods are to go. I know you will not get into the fight. I have a trust in you. I know. You gave me your word, no? I trust you. Believe it or not, the child will not get into a fight because you told him you trust him.
Right.
You know? So sometimes you've got to use all these emotional things. You've got to find out what is it that you touch, what is it that touches the nerve in that child, and then you've got to use that thing and change that child. So that is how I work. Now, I don't go and tell the whole world that these are my methodologies and this is what I'm going to do for that child, and that child did this, so I'm going to do that with that child. You just don't get vocal about all these things as a teacher. In your mind, you know each child, and you go about transforming each child. At the end of the year, my only objective is that, first of all, academically, every one of my children should pass.
Hmm.
No failure. All right. And the second thing is, the child that goes out from my hands should be equipped to face the world. If I have done those two jobs, that, and I've done it with love, my job is done. So you don't look for qualities. Every child is a piece of clay, and it is up to the teacher to work with that piece of clay and transform that piece of clay into a piece of art.
Brilliant, ma'am. Amazing. Uh, right. So, ma'am, you have been in, what do you call? Okay, I'll reframe the question. Okay. So, you have seen the international standard of teaching as well, since you have worked there, and you have seen the standard where, the teaching in India also. So, what are the key differences between these both styles of teaching, or is it the same?
Uh, there are some basic differences that, if you go into um, the Indian way of teaching, for example, a child who is, 3.5, the child's body and bones and muscles are not yet developed, and we force a pencil into that child's hand and force that child to write. You know, it could be something simple like straight line, zigzag line, slanting line, upside down line, or whatever it is. But at 3.5, you push a pencil into the child's hand and say, come on, write, come on, write, come on, write. By the time the child has completed UKG, you want the child to write capital letters, you want the child to write small letters, you want the child to know, monosyllable words, bisyllable words, and Western education doesn't do that.
Hmm.
Till you are 7, till you are 7, you don't wield a pencil or a pen. It's all audio visual. It's all audio visual, it's all experiential. You go into a sand pit and you start playing with sand, and you feel the texture of the sand, and you throw the sand, and that's experiential texture, feeling. you know You go and look at the, you take a walk in the school garden, you see the flowers and you see the trees and you see the butterflies and you hear the birds, and then you learn about flowers and you learn about the petals. See, what is this called? This is called a petal. What is it? It's beautiful, isn't it?
Hmm.
But here we draw the flower on the board and we start labeling. That is the petal, that is the calyx, this is the corolla, that is the stamen, this is the
Right,
stigma,
right.
this is the stem, this is the petiole. Till the age of 7, a child is given audio visual experiences. And the focus is on speaking. It makes the child confident. And only at the age of 7 does a child pick up a pen and try, because his hands are now strong, he now tries to write. Okay, and that is why children abroad speak so well. Their writing skills are not as great as ours. I have to be honest on that. Okay, but you give a child a speaking job, I'm telling you, a Western child will sell ice to an Eskimo, because he's such a glib talker.
Hmm.
An Indian child, you put him up on the stage and he'll probably struggle. I'm talking about the average child, not all. Okay, there are children who are very confident, but the average child, he's got so much of stage fright. You give a child a spontaneous, a topic, and say, "Come on, talk for 5 minutes on this topic," and he'll struggle to even speak for 1 minute. So that's the first difference, I think. The second difference on a broader scale, I think Western education is more focused on, like I said, experiential learning.
Hmm.
You are not given books and told to memorize those books, and then at the end of the year you are given one board exam or one school exam, and then you are assessed on the performance in that exam. Western, I mean, I've taught Cambridge syllabus, and it's non-stop assessment of a child. You are assessing a child throughout the year. On every chapter you give a worksheet. On every chapter in every subject you give a worksheet, and the child is assessed on those worksheets, not just on exams. A child is given a grade, for his time spent on the field. A child is given a grade for the child for the time he spends in the tinkering lab, or in the computer lab, or in the pottery lab, or in the dance class, or in the music class. He's given grades for all of that. And if a child is not very good in mathematics, but he's done excellently in the art and craft class, his grades are used to cover up those maths grades. He doesn't suffer because he's got just 40% in maths,
Hmm.
because maths is not his field. So he's not made, in our Indian system, we want fish to fly. And a fish can't fly. He can't compete with a bird, right? Just as a bird can't swim in the water.
Correct.
So it's a little bit restrictive like that.
Hmm.
But in as far as concepts are concerned, our system of education is the best. The only in one line I'll tell you, Daksh, we focus more on theory, and Western education focuses more on doing.
Pract- Practical
Yeah,
things.
focuses more on doing. So you'll have projects where you have to go to a particular company, and you have to meet people in that company, and you have to talk to people in that company, and then you have to do your project in that company. How you do it is your business, okay? No teacher is going to come and mollycoddle you. You have to figure it out.
And this is in
So when you
school.
come back, yeah, this is in school, in the higher grades. I'm not talking like in grade 6, 7, 8. I'm talking like, grades 9, 10, 11, 12.
Mom,
They're
even
all
for,
given projects.
yeah, even for 10th to 12th standard students, the standard what they have set there is completely opposite to us. Here, we are set to rote learn the formulas, write the exams of JE, and get into good engineering college or good college for medical seat. But as you have stated the example, you have to go in the company, speak to the people there, and do a project with them. That itself, that work also, the people who are working here, like for the ages of 25 to 30 years of people who are in these agent positions, or they have started out their careers, even they don't do these things. So I believe that's where the difference lies. So
Right.
that's why you see more people from the Western education, they are leaders of the world, I see.
Yeah.
But the scenario is changing, I believe. From India also, there are many people, but again, India's population is 1.5 billion. Their population is way less than this.
Yeah,
S-
yeah.
So we can see a
For us, it
difference
is
here.
the crowd, crowded classrooms, too much to deal with. And as a company, we are not very open to children walking in and saying, "You look, I want to do a project in your company.
Hmm.
Would you open up your company and all its people and stuff like that to a student who walks in?" You wouldn't.
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't have the time. Yeah, I'm busy running my company, and my people are busy working, and my recruiters are busy, and my staffers are busy, and what have you. And you want to walk in, and so it's just the system is like that, and population is one of the reasons. Yeah, there again,
Well,
things are changing, Daksh.
hmm.
In international schools, especially, things are changing, but it's very slow. It's very slow.
Okay. So we have different sets of qualities when compared to the Western educated people, right? The Indian people as well. So do you think we need to adapt to those qualities as well, or is it enough whatever we are getting on the table, and we are not curious enough to learn different things?
Um, See, we are Indians, they are Americans, or they are
Hmm.
Australians, or they are Canadians, or English, or whatever. I mean, we have our genetics and they have theirs, and we have our systems and they have theirs. And it's not like their systems are better than ours, or our systems are better than theirs, or whatever. There are
Hmm.
advantages and disadvantages in every system. The thing is that when you talk about the Western world, one advantage they have is the advantage of language.
Hmm.
See, they grow up speaking English, whereas we have our own,
Hmm.
languages, and English is not our mother tongue. So obviously, when we go out there, we can't talk it as fluently and as smoothly and as glibly as an Englishman would, as a native speaker of English would. So that is
Hmm.
probably the one thing that holds us back. But now you take someone like Shashi Tharoor,
Hmm.
you put him with an Englishman, no contest. you know I mean, hands down, he's an awesome guy. I mean, I admire him, not because he used all these fabulous words, because I don't think that you need to use all these fabulous words and have his kind of dictionary, or sorry,
Right.
his kind of vocabulary to
Vocabulary.
be a good speaker of English. And even he says that you can be a very normal speaker of English, very simple English, and yet you can be very effective in your communication.
Hmm.
But the thing is, see, he's educated abroad, and he can speak to them in their own, their own lingo. In fact, he can even beat them at it.
Hmm.
So it's like that. We have our knowledge, we have our culture, we have our systems, and it's not bad. I think where we need to focus on is our skill of communication, speaking.
Hmm.
We are good writers, we are good readers. Yes, we have the influence of our mother tongue and stuff like that, but I think if we somehow could change our educational system to focus on speaking skills, you know confidently, being able to speak spontaneously, confidently, without hesitation, I think that will make a huge difference. But I don't think that Indians need to be like Westerners or anything like that. I mean, we are fine. You have people like Sanjay Pichai, and you have people like Satya Nadella, and you've got so many, Indra Nooyi, and Kocha,
Hmm.
Chanda Kocha. You've got so many, yeah, Indians who are doing well in the world today, which proves that we are great. We are good. But if you look at them, if you hear them speaking, they speak very well. They have command over the language. Now, if you could only take an Indian with the knowledge that he has and give him the ability to speak of that knowledge, nothing like it.
Hmm. Right. Ma'am, we are heading into the last segment of our podcast, and I'll give a personal story about it. So, I'm in engineering right now, and there are around 64 people in a single class, and there are like that. How many sections? There are four sections in each engineering branch, like that. So, it is 256 people. So, you can think around 1,000 people graduate every single year from my college alone, considering the various branches as well. Again, 1,000 people from my college. And when you take an account of the number of colleges we have in Hyderabad itself. Around 130 plus colleges in Hyderabad which provide engineering to us. Okay, so 130 colleges into 1,000. So approximately how many? 1 lakh 30,000 or something like that. That's the number I think. Huh. 1 lakh 30,000 people from Hyderabad only graduate every single year. Now, this is just Hyderabad. All over India, there are many engineers or many other people from different professions who graduate as well. And they might be the best at their skills, but they are not at all good in the communication. I've seen that in my personal class as well. Out of 64 people, the people who are getting around GPA of 9 out of 10, or they're getting 8.5 out of 10, they are getting 9.9 out of 10. But when you put them on the stage, they're unable to speak any single thing. And whereas people like us who get around 7.5, 7, or 8, we tend to fare better in the practical world than them. But again, I don't believe that should be a limitation to them. So, what do you think that a person from zero could do to improve his communication over the period of his time?
This is something that has to be put in effect right away from your school days. Parents have to have this knowledge, teachers have to have this knowledge, and it starts from there. uh, I always tell my students who hesitate to speak Dutch, okay, this is what I do, okay. I always tell them, take any article, a simple article from a newspaper, the simplest article you can find. Start off with something with just 10 lines. Get into your bedroom or wherever you have a full length mirror. Put a chair in front of that mirror. And if you want to sit or if you stand, all the better. Now take that article, read it a couple of times in your mind. Now stand in front of your mirror. Think you are a news reader. You are reading on CNN or BBC or Doordarshan. Koi le lo,
Hmm.
no problem.
Hmm.
Now start off, hold that thing and start. Good evening, everyone. My name is Daksh Mavani, and in today's headlines, start with the headlines. Start with the headlines. Now
Hmm.
take that article that you've chosen and start reading out that article with the correct pauses and the correct intonation, the correct pitch. You may not be perfect, but you have taken the first step towards being a confident speaker. Do it. Start like that. Listen, watch your news readers. Listen to how they speak. Look
Hmm.
at their coordination. They are having a written material in front of them, but the camera is there, and you see how they look at the written material. They've already learnt up the next 5 words in advance, and then they look at the camera and they say those next 5 words. After saying those words, the eyes fall exactly on that spot where they have to continue from. Now you see the coordination that is required.
Right.
That has to start from school itself. Unfortunately, as a teacher, I can tell you, students don't take it seriously. They don't do it. I may speak myself hoarse telling them to do this. I will even tell the parents to see that they do it at home. Close your, but ma'am, they'll laugh at me. Okay, close the door. Close the door. 5 minutes. Tell your parents, 5 minutes, Papa, you don't disturb me. I want to do my reading in front of the mirror. But no, they'd rather be on their mobile scrolling all those TikTok thingies. And, rather than
Right.
spend 5 minutes in front of a mirror polishing your speaking skills. So this is something that is a big challenge. Even as a teacher, I face it even today. So what I do is I bring up, I tell them to bring an article the next day to school. Each of you bring a cutout from the paper, and tomorrow you're going to have a speaking session.
Hmm.
And everyone will just speak on 2 minutes. So 25 students in 2 minutes. But how do you? It's something that has to be ongoing. Now, if you are someone who's already doing your engineering, you are getting a 9.9 or a 9 or a 9.5 on a 10 scale. But if I give you a mic in your hand and tell you, come on, speak for this on 2 minutes, if you're not able to do it, it requires a lot of dedication on your part. You have to read. You have to read and you have to read loudly. You must be able to hear yourself read. If there is a word you can't pronounce, you're talking about AI, right? You're talking about technology. Get on to Google. Ask Google, how do I pronounce this word? So if I give you a word like, for example, indict,
Hmm.
indict,
Indic-
ment,
indictment.
it's
Okay.
pronounced as indictment.
Oh wow.
And it's a very simple word. It means judgment.
Hmm.
The judge passed down his indictment.
Right.
you know Things like this. So how will you know all of this if you don't read, if you don't listen to the news, if you don't speak? English is a spoken language. The more you
Hmm.
speak it, the more mistakes you will make, yes, but the more you will correct yourself, and the better you will speak the next time. So children have got to read, number one. Number two, speak it. If you're saying you've got 64 in each section, how many of those 64 speak English all the time in college?
Rarely even a single one, including me.
Seems. So you see, and therein lies the problem. You already speak your mother tongue in your house, right? Don't you? Whether it be Telugu or Gujarati or Punjabi or whatever it is.
Hmm.
The moment you go home, that is the only language you speak. When you speak to your friends, you'll speak in Hindi or Marathi or Telugu or Tamil or whatever. But if you're joining an English medium and you are in an English medium education, for those 8 hours that you are in college, what do you lose by speaking in English? Just for those 8 hours. But it's an uphill task for every student.
Hmm.
He slides so easily into the regional language or into his mother tongue, whatever it is. It's not wrong to speak your regional language, but then you're studying in English. You're in an English medium school for a reason, right? So why don't you speak in English? Start there. If you don't start there, if you've not done it all these years, at least do it now. Speak in English. Even if someone else speaks to you in Telugu, you speak in English. You
Hmm.
answer in English. It takes guts. It takes courage to do that. Yeah, you'd rather be part of one circle who speaks all in Telugu. So it's very difficult even for the children. Easy for
Hmm.
me to say as a teacher, speak in English. Once you go home, it's easy for me to give those lectures. But the child knows the practical difficulties. The only sad thing is that communication will never improve as long as the language is not spoken.
Right.
That's the crux of it all.
Okay. Uh, any one advice would you like to give to the people who are listening right now, and you could help them out in probably improving their language or the communication part as we spoke about earlier? Just one honest advice from a teacher for you could the students who are actually going into the corporate lives in the next couple of years.
Ask yourself, those who are doing BTech or whatever degree you are doing, ask yourself, imagine you have applied for a job. Tomorrow's your interview. You don't know what kind of person is going to be interviewing you. Probably an HR person. Uh, and he is going to ask you a lot of questions that you will have to answer spontaneously.
Hmm.
He is going to be listening to you, watching you, looking at your body language, looking at your communication skills, because if you're going to be part of a corporate sector, you are going to have to speak well. Your communication skills, soft skills, as they say, is going to be also assessed along with your technical skills. On a scale of 1 to 10, ask yourself, what number do you give yourself? A 3 or a 4? You're definitely not going to get a 9 or a 10,
Hmm.
for the simple reason that you have not given enough importance to the spoken word. You are going to liaise with companies tomorrow. You are going to be speaking with people, with your bosses, with vendors, and with clients. You know, how are you going to be able to communicate to them effectively if you can't string a sentence of words together properly? What image will you be projecting? Ask yourself that. Just put yourself in that position for a minute. You will know where you stand. It's very simple and it's never too late to start. Pick up a book, start reading out aloud. Pick up the newspaper, select an article, start reading it as though you are the news anchor for this evening. You love cricket. Come on, start doing a commentary. You love football. Come on, start doing the commentary. You know, there are so many things that you can do. You love music. Why don't you start singing an English song?
Hmm.
Even that helps. All you need to do is you've got to be serious about developing your communication skills, because as long as you are not serious about it, you will never start working on it. And tomorrow there is someone who's probably less technically oriented, or less technically sound than you are, but his communication skills are spot on. I can guarantee you the job will be his. The job will be his. So think of that and start working on your spoken skills. That is for students. That is for students. But I also have a word out there for all the teachers who might tune in, who might listen to this podcast. I have only one sentence for you: love what you do. Love what you do. Okay? And for the students out there, do what you love.
What you love.
That's
Right.
my last message.
Thank you so much for the session, ma'am. I am honored to have you on the show. And I'm glad that I took the step because I genuinely think that the last 30 minutes or 20 minutes of this episode, whoever has been listening, it is a gold mine for them to improve their lives. So, thank you for everyone who has tuned in. Right.